So I'm here with Ashlee Tayag, a longtime friend and labor and delivery nurse, and she's going to talk about her experience with breastfeeding. She just had a brand new baby, Ellis, and she's absolutely beautiful. And she's going to just talk about everything that she's experienced from being a labor and delivery nurse all the way through today. So just so you know, she does work at the hospital that I used to work at, and she is very up on the latest baby-friendly practices, which include breastfeeding technique, and she actually teaches women the first few days of their newborns' lives how to breastfeed. So she definitely had an advantage there and knew what she was getting into when she started. So let's start.
Okay.
So what was your planned feeding method when Ellis was born?
So my decision was to exclusively breastfeed Ellis for at least 6 months and take it from there, seeing how the transition back to work went. But I was hoping to breastfeed exclusively for about 6 months with her.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And when you started, did you feel that you were well prepared to be a breastfeeding mom?
I did feel prepared, and part of that is because of what I do for work. Being a labor and delivery nurse, I am educated with a lactation consultant to educate new moms in the first few days they're in the hospital to achieve the proper latch with their baby and positioning, and how to understand if your breastfeeding experience is successful for your baby.
Definitely.
So I did feel prepared to be a successful breastfeeder.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your experience once Ellis was born with breastfeeding?
So once Ellis was born, I had a great first feed with her right after birth.
Good.
She fed for about an hour and a half and continued to be an eager feeder throughout our hospital stay. But the issue was I began to have pain immediately in those postpartum days. And I did seek help through a lactation consultant at the hospital before I was discharged.
Good.
And we did adjust a few things to try and correct the pain issues. Once we returned home, I continued to breastfeed for a total of about 3 to 4 weeks. But during that 3 to 4 week span, it was not easy. We had a lot of challenges with establishing a latch that was not painful. And unfortunately, we were not able to establish a latch that was not painful. And I sought the help of additional lactation. I tried different techniques, positioning, and I tried using tools such as a nipple shield.
Excellent.
And I really sought as much as I could to try and correct the issues that we were having. But ultimately, I began to just have really bad breakdown. And it was never able to be given a break where it could heal.
Definitely.
So I started to pump to give myself a break and so I could heal. Because the breastfeeding experience started to become more of a challenge and more of something I was not looking forward to because of how painful it was.
Sure.
So I made the decision to give myself a break and let myself heal. And in the meantime, Ellis ended up getting a bottle of pumped breast milk, which
Great.
was okay.
Yeah.
I wanted her to still have that breast milk for the nutrients in there. And by the time I was able to be healed, Ellis developed an infection in her mouth, and she got a thrush infection.
Oh.
And that prolonged our ability to try to maintain and achieve a successful latch. And once I was healed and once she was healed, Ellis really had given up with the breastfeeding, and she was much more comfortable with the bottle.
Sure.
So I had a very challenging time, and it was hard to go through that.
I bet.
Mm-hmm.
So once Ellis was more comfortable with the bottle, how did that affect your decision to continue to breastfeed or not?
So I felt like I had gone through a really emotional challenge. I felt like, I never had the idea that I was going to bottle feed my baby. I wanted to be a successful breastfeeder. And I feel that society really does a great job in educating moms about the benefits of breastfeeding. And I still believe that that is the best decision for a baby, is to have breast milk. But ultimately, and part of that challenge in making my decision of whether to breastfeed or to bottle feed, after the big challenge that we had, I felt like I was going to be judged for my decision to stop breastfeeding. But I ultimately knew that that was best for that was best for me and my baby. Because, like I said before, the breastfeeding was becoming something that was not enjoyable for us because it was so difficult and so challenging. So I decided that the best thing for both of us was to just bottle feed with formula. And
That's great.
It took a while to be okay with that decision for myself.
You told me that you broke down in the kitchen one night.
Yep.
Felt like you were failing Ellis.
Mm-hmm. And I apologized to her. I was in the kitchen with my husband, and I just told her, I'm sorry, I can't give you what's best for you. And I think it's hard because society talks to you, and part of my job as an educator is to explain the benefits of breastfeeding.
Right.
And I felt that I had failed her as a mom because I couldn't give her what was best for her. But I ultimately realized that what's best for her is to be fed and be comfortable and growing healthy.
Right.
And if that decision, I don't know. And if the best way to do that for her was through formula, then that was the best decision I could make as a mom for her.
Definitely. So a real takeaway there is that she needed to make the best decision for her baby and for herself. So, if you really kept pushing for the breast, eventually the baby would really maybe take to it begrudgingly, but mentally you might not be really well with that decision. So, and the pain, I don't think it was really possible to continue.
Yeah.
But you really need to take care of yourself as much as you need to take care of your baby too. Mm-hmm. So I think you made a great decision for yourself.
I did.
Mm-hmm. Good. So is there one item for breastfeeding moms that you might recommend, since I'm sure you tried everything? Mm-hmm. And also, is there an item for bottle feeding moms that you would recommend?
So in the time period that I was breastfeeding, I found it really important to have a good support in the form of a pillow or like a breastfeeding tool.
And a partner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that having that support, being that you're spending so much time feeding your baby, it's important to have that proper support so you're comfortable with what you're doing. And since we've been exclusively bottle feeding now, I really enjoy the luxury of having a bottle warmer.
Excellent.
Not necessarily a necessity, but it is something that can make life a little bit easier when you're trying to get things made and prepared and do two things at once. So
definitely. Great tip.
Mm-hmm.
So what was one thing that you kind of wish you did a little differently when you were starting out breastfeeding, having some difficulties? Is there anything that you regret?
I feel like I should have asked for help a little sooner. Part of that was my own stubbornness and feeling that I was educated enough to do this, but also on the other hand, I had never been a mom before and I had never breastfed before myself. So I feel like I should have asked for help sooner, and I should have sought advice from others who have done this before, and for the many resources that are available out there to be successful at breastfeeding. I feel like I should have maybe been a little more open with myself about how difficult it was being and not ignoring that it was becoming an extreme challenge.
Sure. That's a good tip.
Yeah.
So what is one thing that you can take away from your experience that you would pass on to new moms?
I think the most important thing would be to not be so judgmental towards yourself in your experience. I think it's important to remember that if you're a first-time mom, that this is something you have never done before, and neither has your new baby. So you're both learning how to be successful at this. And if it isn't your first baby, it's important to remember that every baby's different, and every baby presents their own set of challenges with being born. So I think it's important not to be so hard on yourself as I was, feeling like I had failed. And I think that's to be expected when you have plans to be successful in something. But if it doesn't work out, it's okay. It really is okay. As long as your baby's happy and healthy and you feel happy and healthy and able to take care of your baby, that's what's best. So I think just not being so hard on yourself if things don't turn out in any decision you make as a new parent.
Great, Ash. Well, thanks so much. Thank you for watching and listening, and hopefully you've got some information from this. But definitely thank you, Ashlee, and we'll get back to you soon. Bye.